he was looking for me, and this is the crazy thing. He's Ricardo Edwards looking for me, but he's in a shirt with jeans, like,
Yeah.
and we are all dressed up,
Yep.
and this guy with a shirt with jeans is looking for me and asked Gabby, "Do you know who is Ricardo?" And she goes, "Yeah, Ricardo is my husband. He's right here." And then I go like, he comes to me like, "No, Gareth, I was looking for you." Like, are you kidding me?
Keep them both in the tuck. Yes.
Welcome back to Reframed, where we unpack the creative process of what worked, what didn't, and what we would do differently today. We're going to jump into part 2 of episode 3, where Ricardo Bernardini shares a surreal story of meeting Rogue One director Gareth Edwards and how that moment impacted his creative journey. We'll also dive deep into AI and how tools like MidJourney and Runway have become creative partners in his animation workflows, even as he navigates the gap between client expectations and reality. As always, thank you for watching. Let's get into it.
So a few weeks go by, and tell you the truth, at this point, I don't even know if the file actually, if they got it. And I get this call, and it's, the lady, present herself, and I recognize the name as one of the directors of the contest. And she tells me, like, we really love your movie. It was amazing. And we choose 3 winners to, come to Washington and receive the award. And you're one of them. And I was like, it's one of those things that I'm on the phone still. This is happening, like, because she was so casual. And like, for me, it was like,
but it's also like your whole life come full circle because you've always, you thought about being an astronaut and then you got into making movies and, working
yeah,
in the creative space. And then that's what gets you to NASA. It's not your engineering degree that gets you to
yeah,
NASA. It's the short film that you made.
it's a short film. Yeah. So yeah, so a few weeks later, we are in DC. They flew us to DC, and then they will fly me and Gabby, right? And but the lady, we started talking, having a rapport, and said, there was a lot of people that helped me make this movie. I'm not saying that you paid for them to go, but they would like to be at the awards.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, absolutely, send me the list. And so, Javi, Rick, and Javi's and his daughter, and Gavi's cousin, like, everybody that was somehow involved building the ship or
Yeah.
holding, the lights, or, everybody that was involved got to go to DC. And we were at the National Geographic headquarters, and they showed the movie there in the big screen. And
Oh, that's cool, man.
there were like real astronaut, was the NASA director was there, and Gareth Edwards was there. And if I tell you the story how we met, and from the point of view of Gabby, because he was looking for me, and this is the crazy thing. Gareth was looking for me, but he's in a shirt with jeans, like,
Yeah.
and we are all dressed up,
Yep.
and this guy with a shirt with jeans is looking for me and asked Gabby, "Do you know who is Ricardo?" And she goes, "Yeah, Ricardo is my husband. He's right here." And then I go like, he comes to me like, "No, Gareth, I was looking for you." Like, are you kidding me? I wanted to meet you. Your movie's amazing. I go like,
Yeah.
what? And Gabby goes like, who is that kid? He wanted to meet you. Like, no, that's Gareth.
That's the guy.
That's the guy. So it was an amazing experience. An amazing experience. From there, I submitted the film to several film festivals, and so it got picked up by this film festival called Beverly Hills Film Festival
Mm-hmm.
in LA, and I got shown there. After you show, it was my first experience doing anything like this, right? But you go to the festival, the films get shown, then you get, you do a Q&A. After that, I just got a bunch of producers coming to me and asking me, what are you doing next? And of course I have, what I'm doing next. I have this
Yeah.
big project. I know what I'm doing next. And so out of that came a lot of like interviews and, you know, things that look as possibilities to actually turn this into a big project, make a, you know, so I did a deck. And by the way, so I'm doing all this, and Mike tells me, oh, there's a guy you need to meet for you, whatever next you want to do. His name is Eduardo. And he was in LA at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we met.
Got
That's
it.
how I met him. So yeah, so you know, some meetings came out of that. A lot of people, a lot of interest. I worked and that was giving me the push to actually turn this into a screenplays, right? Okay, you know, to be able to properly pitch this, you know, after talking to this producer, say, well, we need more than an outline. We need a screenplay. You need to do this. So for the next year, I worked on turning this story into a screenplay.
And what time period are we talking about?
So this is 2019, 2020. So right before the pandemic. So I spent that year writing, and I remember back then, Eduardo was like, that's how we became really good friends. We had several Airbnbs at that point that we were renting, and whatever the Airbnbs had nobody there, I will just go and write. I'll tell Gary, you know, I need to be by myself. So I was going to these Airbnbs and spend time there when they were empty and just write. And I remember, you know, the person that I was talking to all the time was Eduardo. Like, I have these ideas. Let me show you what I'm working on. How do you think? What do you think? And until I had the deck ready, I have the screenplays weren't ready, but it was good enough to go finally to LA and start showing around. It was an amazing experience, but I got my first real experience of what Hollywood is, right? You know, the first time was in the film festival, and you don't know that you are in that little moment in time. You are the star. Like, you know, people are looking at you. All this is beautiful. Everything was beautiful. And you go back, and now you're going to talk to these people that were not in that moment. And just like they were told, okay, this guy has something, go and talk to them. And you are the first time writer, first time,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a deep culture in Hollywood about that. It's like you are basically no one, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the grind part, right? That's the part they don't tell you about. So it's like you're getting a lot of calls and people are interested, and then sometimes things just shift. That can be difficult to deal with. So I'd love to take another break here to you know, talking about how you're looking at it today. If you've been enjoying Reframed, we hope it's giving you what we set out to create. Meaningful conversations that pull back the curtain on the creative process, share hard-earned lessons, and spark new ways of thinking about storytelling. Our mission is to explore where craft meets change and to highlight people doing creative work. If this resonates with you, please subscribe to the channel, share an episode with a friend, and join us in building a community of curious, committed creatives. Thank you. And we're back. So talk to me now about where you are. Because, you know, as we've been working together, one of the things that we talked about last time we had a conversation, actually, it was probably a couple months ago, was really about AI, right? And I think it's because I'd actually seen two things. You had posted sort of like the concept film that you had done for a competition on Instagram.
It was here 35 years ago where we made our last stand. The great battle against the plastic monster.
Wait, what? There was a monster?
Yes, that's how it happened, Pin. We deployed our forces and attacked and invaded their territories. And then finally, after a big battle, we destroyed the big monster and a big explosion.
So that's how it happened?
Absolutely. It was all for the fish.
And then another thing I saw was you were doing sort of these tests where you had yourself in front of a fence. You had on Instagram, it was split into 3 screens. You had you as like a live action capture, then you had a wireframe, and then you showed us what happened when you put that through the AI to create the character you want. And I was blown away by that. The fact that, because that's something you would see in a motion capture studio,
absolutely,
in a more higher end environment, but you were doing this with like, sort of like, I don't even know what tool you're using to do this.
I recorded with my iPhone. Literally that shot was I went out It was almost getting dark, so I wanted to get it because I wanted to test this thing. Put my iPhone on top of a rock there on the floor, and I recorded myself.
What you seek cannot be given.
And this is this is using two tools, using MidJourney and Runway. The workflow is you record the action, and then you go to MidJourney and you create a style of how you want things to look like. So I go to MidJourney, upload one frame, like the first frame of the shot. And to be honest, you have to choose a frame where you can see everything that you want to see eventually on the shot. Okay. So you get that frame, put it in MidJourney, and since I already have so many drawings of what I'm doing, right, I just upload one of my drawings and use it. This is the style that I want you to use. And it transformed that one frame into that style. And then you go to this other tool called Runway, and you found, okay, I want you to take this character and use this image, this style, and change it, turn it into this. And it did it. And for me, it was like, okay, no, I got lucky. Let me do it. So I changed and I uploaded a different style, and it did it again. And it was like, my God.
So let me ask a question before, like, just take it back a little bit, because as AI is coming into the fold in 2022, 2023, when was there an unlock for you? Like, okay, this program's out. I'm going to try this and see what it can do.
Yeah. So the truth is that I'm always thinking that I want to make these movies, right? So when MidJourney came out, and this is 2 years ago, I think it's only 2 years ago, it was just coming out. I heard about it and I went in and I tried to do some images. I said, like, I was just curious, like, okay, what is the hype about? What is going on? And it was really, I was amazed. But the truth is, it would do anything. You would say, I want to see a castle with mountains in the back, and it will make clouds with the shape of a castle. But it still was amazing that I was telling, it was Discord. It was on Discord. I was writing stuff and an image will come out. And after you did it many times, eventually a castle with heels on the back will come out. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh wow, I can maybe do my graphic novel like this. What I was thinking is I'll use it to do all the backgrounds, and I'll just have to do the characters.
Yeah.
It will speed up the process for me. One of the reasons, is for me is like, okay, the easiest thing to do is a graphic novel. There's none of the production of it, but it's very time consuming, drawing every frame, every, page of the graphic novel. But all of a sudden I saw the possibility, I can use this. I can use this tool to make the graphic novel of my story. And I just kept using it, and so like the evolution of it. At the beginning it was something that you can't really use. But I was, playing with it. It was like, okay. And then it evolved super fast to the point that I said, okay, this is something that I can use. And I started creating like concepts of how frames of this graphic novel should look like. And I'm working on this. And the only reason I stopped is because of work, right? So I got this big contract with Disney where I was on one other ship for 9 weeks. And I stopped working on my stuff because of that. It was an amazing experience, great project. Then I come back, and when I come back, it completely changes. And that's one of the first lessons I learned. Like, now what I was telling him to do, you cannot tell it that way. You tell it a different way. And the images it's creating, they look completely different than the ones that I was creating 9 weeks ago. So I'm like, okay, I have to start over. Because I
I mean, I guess if that's the sense, I guess that's one of the pain points, right? Is that the technology is moving so fast.
Yeah.
So maybe talk to me about, like, what are some of the advantages, right? And then what are the pain points that you run into?
Yeah. So I want to say that right now, the way I see it is, especially for conceptualizing stuff, And the initial work for any project, that could be storytelling, or it could be a commercial, it could be anything that needs that initial creative process. I think right now the tools are out par to do that job. They're perfect. And they are becoming more and more, really, the truth is, right now with MidJourney, the styles will remain the same. Everything will remain the same. Is that is not happening anymore. They found a way that, if something you wanted to look with the version 7, then you can go back to that version and keep doing stuff like that, version 6 or whatever, right? So the thing is that when you're working on a real project, like, there's very specific things that need to happen. Like, if you have an art director, if you're working for a big company, if you're working for Disney, it has to go through so many levels. Like, legal is one of them, right? So when you're creating something and a director has an idea of how the frame is going to look like, this is something you can't do. You can't exactly put the things on the frame exactly the way you want. So right now, the way I'm using it is, I use it a lot for doing storyboards when I get hired to do the storyboards. And before, you'll have to draw everything. Right now, it's great. It's very constant. You can put, this is my 2 characters. It will keep the characters pretty much similar for the whole storyboard. And to begin with, they were never exactly the same looking characters when you're doing storyboards. And but I found myself creating a bunch of stuff, then coming back to Photoshop and comp the way the shot is really framed, right? So the truth is that for an artist, right now, I see it as an amazing tool, right? I think the bad side right now for me is the people that are hiring you to do the jobs don't understand how it works, so they are expecting you to be able to do things faster because of it, right? And this just happened a couple of weeks ago when I was asked, hey, can you do this storyboards, but make sure they don't look like AI? But okay, you can't have it both ways. It's like, you wanted to pay me less because you want me to do faster, and I'll use AI. But if you want them not to look like AI after I bring them, then I have to work on them hours.
Yeah, you have to finesse it. You have to finesse it. Yeah.
So there is a little bit of disconnect of what people see on social media, or they see what's happening, right? Because the people are posting are the best versions of whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
It gets me every time I see a post like, say, I make this commercial for only $2. And I go like, that's not true. That I can see at least a couple of $1,000s of credit to get there, plus all the time that you spend doing that. So, but of course that gets clicks. People do that, right? The problem is that then the executives the people that are hiring you start believing that that's the truth. Like, I saw this thing, I got asked to turn this guy into water. The lady that is hiring me said, but the owner of the company knows that you can do this in a day because he saw a video on Instagram. I don't know, like, okay, you got to explain to him it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
That video that he saw wasn't done in a day. Like, that's what the guy is saying, but that's not true. It's not.
And I think it's also too, like, when you have a certain level of experience, which is, I think, the last conversation we had as well too. It's also like, when you have a certain background, and obviously you've been doing this for over 30 years, maybe even more, there is a knowledge base that you have in terms of the steps you need to take to accomplish something. So now all of a sudden this magic elixir is promised. And obviously there's benefits to it, right? I'm using it for certain things. And like you mentioned before with the graphic novel, is that you can get sort of like the framework of something created, which means it's taking probably 50-60% of the work that you would do before. That's helping you get there. But then the other side of it is people think it's a magic potion. So maybe talk a little bit more about what your experiences are now and how you're fighting that, right? In terms of trying to maintain your clients, trying to keep your work, but at the same time, adopting these tools, right? Because you can't really leave it out of the workflow anymore. It's at the point now where you sort of have to. So how are you finding the balance?
So, right now, everything is just happening, right? So there is this, and I told you a little bit about this before. It's like there's this thing where when I'm asked to do traditional work, it's almost right, upfront, it has to be faster and cheaper because now you have access to
Hmm.
this. So there's this extra work where I have to negotiate, saying, okay, yes, it can be faster and cheaper, but something's got to give. So what are we going to do? The biggest challenges is, I'm doing this piece of art for animation based on on what we talked about using AI. And when I show it to, my client show it to their client, they go like, no, we want this to be bright and we want this to be different. We want to, and I say, well, you see, that's the problem. We didn't budget it for that. And that's the problem that I see. Of course, I know it'll get addressed, but right now it's the problem that I see happening. It's like, okay, you have to tell your client that since we were using AI, we didn't budget for the time, fix AI. And it needs to be in the budget. It's another item that now you have to put, okay, we're gonna use AI to build the backgrounds or whatever, and then there's X amount of hours to fix that. It's not the same amount of hours to doing from scratch, but there are hours there that you're gonna spend on.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's the brainstorm portion. The AI
Yeah.
is sort of like the brainstorm to get
Yeah.
to a point.
Yeah.
So, as we come to the end of this, I kind of want to bring it back full circle, right? Because I think obviously one of the things we talked about before was you see AI as a way where you can really scale the production of your film to be able to get a lot of the things that you would have to pay traditional animators to do that would also require a massive budget. So I want to talk about that as well, but I also want to talk about some concrete use cases where you feel from your lens and your background as an animator, as an artist, where you feel like, hey, here's some concrete use cases for this, as long as you understand that it's also going to take time to sort of polish what you've done. What do you think are some concrete use cases?
So concrete use cases, definitely, for example, if you're doing, like, at some point I was doing promos for shows for HBO, right? And when you're working on this, not only you have to do storyboards, you do animatics, right? And these two things on, you'll do the storyboards get approved, even after you took them into Photoshop. Take them in Photoshop, you fix them, they get approved. Then you bring into the tools that let you animate those things with AI. And as long as everybody's on the same page that we're showing how things are going to be, you're going to be able to do this animatics with the shot framed the way they want it, with sort of the movement that we want, and take that. And I think what is great about this is that it will be a bigger creative process there. Like, instead of spending hours waiting for renderings, which was one of the biggest issues, like, hey, we have this, now we have to wait to render it, and so we can see how it looks, go back. Now I can just go, put the images there and tell them, we want this to move to the right, this move to the left, and give me several options. And now you'll go and say, instead of showing one option, you show several options of how this could work.
Which means turnaround time is quicker.
Yes.
And feedback.
And then these tools, and then this is your framework to this. This is how and then you go to your 3D software and actually build it. So it looks exactly the same in every frame. It doesn't lose the shape, right? On that, I can see that definitely, the tool is right now. You can use it for that, right? Another thing that I think it could be for some work that has comps in it, like animating clouds in the background, and as long as everybody's on the same page that this is going to look this way, that it's as close, it's not going to be exactly what everybody had in their mind right now. 90% there, but you want to cut the budget of having to make all these effects. That's an amazing tool. I can see it for my movie. I'm definitely using it for that. Like, I'm creating all my environments, making them look the way I want them, and the time that I would have used to break that into layers and animate the clouds and all that, I'm gonna give. It's almost like, for me, it's like it's a partnership. like you have a creative partner, and it's your movie, but the art director is both of you are the art directors of
Yeah.
this movie. There's a little bit of that. The AI is going to be there if you want to go that route, right? But I can definitely see it happening. I mean, the test that I'm doing right now for a short film based on the bigger film that I want to do
Yeah.
is where I'm recording myself acting against a green screen and then using the characters that I've drawn to tell the story. So I will tell you the biggest challenges right now is the range of movement. If you move too much, you turn around and then it will lose it. So that's what I'm saying. It won't be exactly the shot that you want, but you can make it work right now. Like there's ways to use it. And like I said, that it will be a big test for me. It's like it's a few minutes short film, but for me, if the character, which is actually is the tree. So
Mhm.
before, and I always talk to Eduardo about this, I want to do this short film, but the thing is, I will have to make this character 3D. I will have to rig it, and then I'll have to do the animation of this whole thing. There's a canopy and the branches, and this a very complicated animation. It will take me a long time, which I don't have because I'm working.
Yeah.
If I manage to make this, and for me is you have to feel it. Like if you can feel this character is very emotive in this time. There's sadness and there's there's hope and there's all these things. If I can see that once I do it, then I'll be like, okay, I can work with this partner and telling my stories.
Yeah. That's amazing. So where do you see, looking at the tools you're using right now and as they just continue to advance, where do you see yourself? And obviously you're making the short, and once it's finished, I'd love to have you back on to kind of talk about it.
Sure.
Where do you see this process in a year from now?
That's a very good question. And things are moving so fast and changing so fast that I don't think anybody can tell, the truth. I'll be, my guess is that the truth is that there'll be like a reckoning where people will realize the real use of these tools against what people think right now that is going to end the jobs for all creative people. Maybe call me again an optimist, but I don't see that. I see there's a partnership there. There's the stuff that AI, even if it gets to the point that people are talking about, then maybe in 2 years it'll get to the point that it'll be even smarter than us. It'll be great, but it will still be, as long as you want it to be your idea, right? Because you can always go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to write a story. Great,
Mhm.
that's another thing. But I'm talking the creative process as we know it now. Humans telling their stories. If you're worried about that, for me, is it will get a point where you realize how much you can use these tools. There's definitely jobs that are gonna be lost. I see, people that are doing rotoscoping, and there's jobs that are gonna be lost. But again, these are tools that have been there, just that were like stagnated. Like, oh, green screen. Okay, green screen. It's a pain in the butt process. I would love to see AI really move fast on that, right? Like, I don't want to lose time cleaning a green screen. I want to lose
Mhm.
time creating. I want to don't lose it and use my time creating, right? So I'd see there's a lot of room for the AI actually being useful in ways that it's not there yet. And once that starts happening, then people, I think, will start realizing there's this partnership that I'm talking about. That's how I see these tools will be as integral to creating a movie as Avid or Premiere or After Effects is another tool that you have there. And now that it's there, it changed the way movies are made. It's like when we change from film to digital. It's another tool, you have it there. And I always say, every time something new like this happens, it's my feeling and my experience that the old stuff always stays there. And the example for me is theater. It's like, theater's still here. We go to watch a play. People, when movies came out, everybody thought theater was dead.
Mhm.
Nobody will ever go back to see theater because that's where he was born, right? It came from theater, and that didn't happen. Of course, it's not the same industry that it was before. It changed, but it's there. The same with actual physical books. Like we went through the whole process. A bunch of Barnes and Nobles closing. Now there are a couple of them opening again.
Yeah.
In different ways, smaller, leaner, but people, there's people. It's like there's a physical connection that we have, and that physical connection is part of who we are, I think, and that's something that AI will never be able to do. We can be as smarter than us, but we'll never be able to duplicate that thing that happens when humans interact. And that will be our contribution to being on the creative process. And I think that's more or less what I think it goes.
I love that. And I love the fact that we're talking about the creative process at the end, because the idea of the show, right, is really looking at the iteration of the creative process, right? Where we've been, what we've done. So the name of the show is Reframed. And my idea was really about looking at the creative process and talk about what you did, what you would do differently today if you had the opportunity to go back and do it again. So is there a film? Is there a career path? Is there some part of your journey that you would reframe?
So I have to say, the only thing that I think about, and the only way I would have known, if I didn't live through that, I would have known how to address this, is the way I handle the moment that the little window of opportunity I had when I did that short film and I got to meet Gareth Edwards. I would have treated that moment in a very different way. And I'm almost sure that it will have changed my path. I was too new to the whole thing, so I listened to the wrong people, and I didn't know that until after the fact. So I know that there's always decisions that you make that change your path completely. On the other hand, I think that because I took this other path, it allowed me to grow more as a creative person, as a writer, as a storyteller, because that path would have got me stuck working on the Hollywood machine. And then it would have been just working on that for years. And who knows how that would have been. So I know what I missed, but I'm also happy with what I have. But definitely aware that there are definitely decisions that you make that change the journey. But yeah, so I would say I had this gut feeling that day that I should not listen to these people. And if any advice is, nothing bad would have happened if I would follow my gut feeling. But so that is, if you feel in your gut, this is what you need to do, you can always say sorry. So that will be my thought.
That's a great place to end, man. So Ricardo, tell the people where they can find you, find your work, find your experiments that you're doing with AI. What are your social channels, website?
Yeah.
Any information that you have about the film that they can read and find, or watch some of the shorts that you've created?
Sure. So on social media, my handle is Arcasian. It's ARCKAZIAN. And that's one of the characters of the story. And then if you look me up as Ricardo Bernardini, you'll find all my social media, all my stuff. And the other one is Angal Tantara for the story, or Tantara Studios for my studio.
Amazing, man. Listen, thanks so much for the time, because I know you just got back from vacation.
Thank you, Chad. Really enjoy this so much.
I'm super glad, because I know we've had these conversations offline. So, thanks so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching Reframed. Until next time, we'll see what the next journey brings us. Take care, Ricardo, and yeah, man, have a good one.
You too, man. Thanks again.
All right. Take it easy. Anytime.